Tenant yelled at me for taking advantage of him by making him pay for my mortgage. So he moved out, and now reality is slapping him so hard in the face that he's begging to come back. Plus all update. My tenant yelled at me for taking advantage of him by making him pay for my mortgage. So he moved out, and now reality is slapping him so hard in the face that he's begging to come back. About a year ago, my last remaining grandparent passed away, and my father inherited all assets, including a house. I had been saving for a nice down payment so I could have a lower mortgage payment each month, thus allowing me to save money for travel. When my father inherited this house, which he had no interest in moving into yet, he offered to sell it to me for slightly below market rate, with the caveat that he and my stepmother could eventually move into the basement apartment. I agreed because they're both incredible people who are not at all invasive and would give me my privacy if they lived there. So I paid a 60% down payment, financed the rest, and moved in. Present day. About 6 months ago I started considering renting out the finished basement apartment. It has 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a living room, and a small kitchenette, sink, fridge, microwave, but no oven. A friend of mine said his brother was moving to my city and needed a place. He's a brand new teacher and doesn't make great money, so he needed a place that wasn't expensive. I offered to let him rent my basement for way less than the market rate, $650, which would include utilities. He readily accepted and signed a year-long lease. Well, a few days ago he asked if he could start paying the landlord directly instead of giving me rent money each month. I was under the impression my friend had told him I own the house, so I was confused, and I told him we don't have a landlord and that I'm the owner. He got very upset and screamed at me for lying for over 6 months and taking advantage of him by making him pay so much in rent. For the record, an apartment similar to the one in my house would be well over twice what he's paying me, closer to 3 times for something as nice. He asked how much of my mortgage he's covering and I said, why does that matter? You're getting a nice, quiet place to live, access to a full kitchen and laundry room, and you're paying an amount that you can't afford. My finances aren't a factor here. He stormed out of the room and slammed the basement door. He's still not speaking to me. I asked a few other friends and some family members, and most said I was wrong for having him cover my mortgage payment. Only a few say I'm in the right. So am I the a-hole for having my roommate cover $650, $175 per month mortgage? ETA. He has a lease so I won't be evicting him over this alone. If he does any damage or becomes hostile, I'll look at the eviction process. But for now, he will remain unless he chooses to break the lease, which I'd allow him to do if he wants. He also didn't bother to read the lease before signing, even though the lease clearly states that I'm the homeowner. I didn't trick him or keep information from him. He simply didn't read what he was signing. I intended to speak to him over the weekend, but he never returned my texts asking when a good time to discuss things would be. So Sunday afternoon I sent a text stating I would be entering the basement at 6 p.m. Monday evening. He never replied. When I went into the basement, some of his belongings were there, but some weren't. The bed was there, but no dresser or side table, and the second bedroom he was using as an office had nothing but boxes. The kitchenette was disgusting, the carpets were filthy, and the walls had dents and divots in them and the paint. I left him a note stating he needs to do some repairs and clean the kitchenette, so as not to attract vermin. Then I went back upstairs. Well, he came back in today, early this morning, and was fuming at me for entering the basement without permission. I told him I had given him more than 24 hours notice, per the lease, via text message before entering his area. He replied that he didn't get that because he blocked my number. So somehow it's still my fault for not informing him I would be down there. I asked him if he intended to stay out of the lease or if he wanted to break it. He said he, leaving and will live in his car until he finds a new place. I told him that's fine and that if he has all his belongings out by the end of the month, I won't make him pay September and half of October's rent, as the lease requires, and I'll refund the days he isn't here. He tried to tell me he didn't need to pay that rent because he had 45 days to vacate, but that's only the notice period if he intends to leave. The lease still requires rent for those 45 days, so he's mad about that. I told him I was being kind by letting him out early with zero financial repercussions. He was also told he's required to leave the apartment as clean as it was when he moved in, which was spotless since I had it professionally cleaned prior to his lease beginning, or he would not get his deposit back. He's throwing a tantrum about that too. He seems to be working on clearing the rest of his stuff out now. I told him when he's done, send me notice in writing, text or email, and I'll send him a refund for the days in August he isn't occupying the apartment. I have indoor ring cameras that I turned off when he moved in, but I've turned them back on until he's gone. I don't trust that he won't do more damage. Right now, I've locked myself in my office on the second story since he's really mad and was throwing things around in the basement and main kitchen. His brother and sister-in-law are also coming over in the next hour or so because I don't feel entirely safe being alone in the house with him. As soon as he gives me a notice that he's completely vacated the apartment, I'll change/delete all the passwords/codes for all the deadbolt, alarm system, internet, etc. so he can't access anything at all. I'm ready to be done with him and to feel safe in my own home again. Update 2. Now, reality slapping him so hard in the face. He moved all his stuff out, notified me of his complete vacancy of the apartment, and is already whining to his brother about being unable to find anything online in his price range, which I'm told is $800 per month with utilities included. He won't find it where we are unless he shares a bedroom with at least one other person. Update 3. The former tenant begged to come back, but I declined. Actually, I offered him the apartment for over market value. MV is about $2,500 and I told him he could come back for $3,300 to make him go away. He declined my offer. No idea where he ended up, but after some of the names he called me I wouldn't let him back in. I don't care. I'm still good friends with his brother. He's a good guy who laughed when I told him about my offer of $3,300 per month. I didn't ask where the former tenant landed. I'm sure he has several roommates, but again, I don't really care. I will not be renting it out again anytime soon. I had to do some repairs, so I'm hesitant to let anyone else in. I may let my cousin's daughter move in next year, but I know her and know she's respectful of people's property unless my parents move in before then. But definitely no more renting to strangers.